Welcome back to Better Dig 2, the husband and wife horror podcast bringing our couch conversations to the masses. I'm your host, Maddie.
And I'm your host, Shrade.
Grab a seat on the couch and let's talk horror.
Maddie, my love,
Yes.
we are going to go back to last year. We did a rewatch
Yes, we
of
did.
the 16-time Oscar-nominated, 4-time Oscar winner, Sinners.
Yeah.
Every time I watch this movie, I find something new or fun or just even more layers to the story, and I can't wait to dig into it with you today.
Me too. Okay. Sinners, written and directed by Ryan Coogler, starring Michael B. Jordan as Smoke and Stack, Jack O'Connell as Remick, Haley Steinfeld as Mary, and Miles Caton as Sammy.
Indeed. All right, quick summary for those of you who have somehow lived under a rock and don't know what this is about. Trying to leave their troubled lives behind, twin brothers return to their hometown to start again, only to discover that an even greater evil is waiting to welcome them back. All right. Before we get into the rubric, we have to go through this every time. If somehow, again, you haven't watched this movie and you don't want spoilers, what are you doing? Go watch it. Get out of here. Turn back now. And with that, the rubric.
Let's get into it. All right. First category, acting quality, 5.
4.5.
Okay. Why did it not get a perfect 5 for you?
There were a lot of side characters that I wanted to get a little bit more. And it's not necessarily like an acting quality, but there's not really another spot in here that we can put it. So for me, like Smoke and Stack are great, obviously. Mary, Annie, Delta Slim, Cornbread. And then like after that, it kind of gets a little more sparse. Obviously, Sammy becomes our titular hero, but he's more of like one of the main focal points. So I don't really count him as like a side character.
Yeah.
So for me, I just wanted a little bit more. And I know that, what was it, Mrs. Chen?
Chow.
Chow.
I think, yeah.
Chow. Yeah. So
Grace.
So Grace and her husband and their daughter were fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So
I have a little issue, but it wasn't an acting thing with Grace, with Miss Chow. Later, I'll talk about it, but it was more of like seemed out of character for her, I guess, but what little we knew about her. But I think there was so many big personalities, so many big characters in this movie that if any of those like more background characters were any bigger, it would just be too much.
yeah, I think the problem with that for me is that it lends itself so much to the first hour of the movie is very much just character building, atmosphere. And obviously we get Remick very early on in the like scene where he meets his two flunkies that he turns and then they, start busting out Irish bangers together.
Yeah.
So I wanted a little bit more for those supporting characters, or maybe don't have as many.
Okay. Because you felt like they were just warm bodies in a scene.
Yeah, there were some that were definitely warm bodies. And because there needed to be a volume of actors in this, especially for some of the larger scenes that we absolutely love and we'll get into later. But it was a little one note on side characters. The main cast did a phenomenal job.
Yeah. I feel like nobody's performance seemed to like pull away from any of the others. They all meshed well, great. So that's why I give it a full 5.
Okay.
But I understand where you're coming from. Okay. Next category, visual effects and cinematography. I gave it a 4.5.
Okay.
So,
I gave it a 4.
Okay. So it lost that little half a point for me just because there was a couple of scenes where it was like just a little bad CGI, just a little bit, just barely. And then I have one scene and it had to do with Smoke and Stack, and that having to play the two characters where I saw just a break where it didn't flow so seamlessly, and I'll talk about that later, but that's where it loses at half a point for me.
Okay. Bad CGI. Some of the shots were not my favorite.
Okay.
But then again, that's personal interpretation. A lot of the cinematography was really well done. Obviously, like, you don't get nominated for that many Oscars without something, Coogler cooked. So I think 4 is a fair, and I want to give it 4.5, but there's just one scene that really like takes so much out of it for me, and we'll talk about that in our least favorite scenes later on.
Okay. All right. Next category, audio. Perfect 5.
Perfect 5. Soundtrack was fucking awesome. Yes. We jam it in the car all the time. The preemptive sounds, like when we got to do the rewatch, we finally heard like while Mary is talking to Remick and the goons before she's turned, you hear just the slightest audio cue of Rocky Road to Dublin, and you're like, oh, that's sick.
Yeah, there was a couple of different scenes, because I think this may be the first time I've rewatched it here at home with our surround sound, because I've watched it like on the airplane and, but I don't, this may have been my first rewatch at home. I don't know. I picked up on so much more of the audio than I had on, first watching the theater, watching just with some headphones on or something. One that I remember commenting on was when they are driving down the road and they pass like the chain gang.
Yeah.
And Delta Slim starts telling the story. And he's telling the story, but the audio in the background is also telling the story. It's like sound effects and people yelling, and like you can hear the sound of like someone dying.
Yeah.
It's subtle because he's, it's not affecting his, you being able to hear him, but just the layered storytelling right there. Loved that. So yeah, but yeah, soundtrack, just all the audio effects, how in different ways that they used it, gets a 5 for me.
Okay. Next category is going to be story.
Okay.
I gave it a 4.
Okay. I love the story. And listen, I'm a sucker for like, I'm going to call this a period piece, which I know like more people think of a period piece as like Bridgerton or
like Nosferatu.
I guess.
Oh.
It's like, it's that those are just, I feel like those are, but anyways, this is like, I guess it's like old Western kind. I mean, they have a shootout in the street, that makes it qualify as an old Western to me.
Sure.
But just everything that was going on, and it wasn't just a one track, there was layers to so much of this movie. So it gets a 5 for me on story.
That's fair. It's again, stories impact us differently. Yeah. I get that. I think for me, it was a cool vampire movie. Again, like it falls into that like odd mix of, okay, we have really great storytelling, but also we have some decent scares. So it is technically a scary movie.
Yeah.
And people argue back and forth that it's not. It's got vampires.
Well, and then people argue that it's not a vampire movie. It's a movie with vampires.
Yeah. So that's the other thing too. If I had to, I don't know, it felt very Lost Boys to me, which is a good thing. I love that movie. But it was like the ecosystem.
Vampires weren't even the main focus.
Exactly.
Like
yeah. So I mean, obviously in Lost Boys the main plot point, but again, we're not talking about that.
Yeah.
For me personally, I think that the vampires added so much to the story, and especially with like the hoodoo culture and the haints, and I just thought that was really cool how that was all tied together.
I have a point to make about that later.
Okay.
So, okay.
Next up is going to be scariness. I gave it a 4.
So did I. It's not the scariest movie.
No, it takes a while before you can even really get scared.
Well, and it's not even when you get to what is the scary part, it's still not that scary. And I guess it also, because it's like the first half of the movie is more of a drama you know, that it doesn't have that tension build up, that when it gets to the scary, it's really super impactful. And then like I talked about in our Obsession review, when you hit that climax at the very end and then it just like leaves it, it makes it so much scarier, where this one has that resolution and it has that sort of happy ending in a way.
Oh yeah.
And so it's sad, but it still has, it's a happy, I would say it's a happy ending. So it takes away from any of the scare, because the bad guys are vanquished, the good guys win, you know. So yeah,
I
4.
Agree. Yeah, I think 4 is a great spot for it. It needs more scares.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like an unsettling movie. It felt very actiony. It stayed good on pacing when it finally started to kind of ramp up. So I'm again, 4, safe spot.
Yeah.
Next up is our enjoyability score.
Okay.
I gave it a 5.
Same here. I love this movie.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal movie. It's a comfort movie. Like when we're doing travel, if we're flying to HHN, if we were, just doing anything, it's something we can turn on in the background, wait the first 45 minutes out, and then watch, it should all ramp up.
All right. That leaves us with our last category, our bonus points. So I'll kick this one off. I gave it 4.
I also gave it 4.
Okay. So my first point goes to, what's better than having Michael B. Jordan in this movie?
2 Michael B. Jordans?
Having 2 Michael B. Jordans in this
that's
movie.
That's also a bonus point from me.
As it should.
Yeah. Not many movies can pull off the twin scenario with a singular actor.
And make it, the fact that they interacted with each other, like physically so much, and they did that very well. There was one time that stuck out to me, and I'll talk about that later, but for the vast majority of the movie, he did so well playing those 2 characters and putting so much, emotion and personality into them. And then instead of doing the whole where they are so separate personalities to try to really define them, they still had crossover, but they had, uniqueness to them.
Yeah, there were a lot of subtle differences too. So you're like, good for Michael B. Jordan.
And the fact that you can sit there and watch that movie and it feel like it's 2 different people playing those roles, like you were actually watching twins and not one actor playing 2 roles. Great. Okay. My second one is for the vampire design. I love the way the vampires are depicted in this, this movie. Just the look of them, the lore of it. They're, the fact that they still like garlic hurts them, but yet if you kill the originator, it doesn't kill all of them, but sunlight still kills them, which I don't know that there's a single iteration of vampires out there that's not affected by sunlight, but then just the look of them, like when they would start to transform, the claws, the teeth, it was just perfect for me. I love this vampire design.
Okay.
Third bonus point. I'm just going to this kind of goes with soundtrack, but specifically the Lie to You scene and the Rocky Road to Dublin scene.
Okay. I also had the Rocky Road to Dublin on my.
Oh, yeah. We're going to have to. But those are my 2 favorite songs out of the soundtrack. I really liked Pale Pale Moon. That scene was also great. But Lie to You, Rocky Road to Dublin. That gets a bonus point. Okay. My last one, and this is like a big one, because I think if they had not done this well, it would have, this is what made or break the movie, Annie's character was such a glue for this movie. Just her background, everything, the hoodoo, the voodoo, everything she knows. And so it wasn't her being there when she figured out what the monsters were, it made sense. It wasn't just like someone all of a sudden was like, oh, they're vampires. And so then the fact that in the beginning, she was like, they're haints.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then when she, started seeing different things, she was like, we're not dealing with haints. These are vampires. And so it wasn't just like it came out of nowhere. You had a character, an established character that made sense in the cast and in the story, and then ends up being the one to figure it out. Made so much sense when you have this like out of left field vampires, Yeah. So, I thought that was such a great and seamless way to tie vampires in this movie that if you're watching the first half and you just don't see that one like remix scene, it would feel like vampires really came out of nowhere. Yeah. So, thought that just Annie being such a pivotal character in this movie and everything. So there's my 4.
Okay. We'll rapid fire a couple of mine. Okay. Michael B. Jordan.
Times 2. Out of
10.
Yep.
Rocky Road.
Yep.
A fun vampire story.
Yeah.
I don't know the last time that a good vampire story has made me want to root for those characters, especially on our first watch. Like it was one of those like, I think really this movie was probably where our friends pushed us into starting this podcast.
Yeah.
Because we set, I think, an hour and a half outside.
Yeah, probably
before we even
left.
I
think honestly, so last week when we talked about Obsession, and I said we'd have to go back and look because I think that was the highest ranked I had on there. Technically was true because when I went and looked back, we had ranked or we had scored Sinners when we watched it in the theaters, but I think it was probably right after Sinners that we added a category in the rubric. And so it changed the scale. So it was lower, but it was because it was missing like a whole category. So this was great because we got to like rescore it and actually get a better, like more accurate score compared to everything else we've been watching recently. So, okay.
My final point, because I couldn't do 6 in this category, the soundtrack.
Okay.
I think that there are not many movies that I can listen to a soundtrack over and over and over again and still get like there are songs on my Spotify rap that pop up on this.
Yeah.
And so I know.
And especially because it's like all original songs. It's not just a horror movie where they put a bunch of like popular just songs in there.
I don't know. Rocky Road to Dublin's pretty pop.
Yeah, but they, redid it. It was, they remade it. But I mean, I
know what you're saying.
Yeah, like you think about like, you like a horror movie and it's like full Rob Zombie or something or Ice Nine Kills or I know, but they're just curating a playlist where this one is an original score. Yeah. It's just you don't get that in a horror movie much. Agreed. Not anymore at least. So yeah.
All right. Totals. I gave it a 30.5, which is an A.
Okay. I gave it a 32.5, which is an A. So this actually ties Obsession, which kind of shocked me. I really thought it was going to be higher, but that scariness score kept it down. So, but that ties it currently for me as my highest.
Okay.
So,
very cool. You ready to start ripping scenes?
Yeah.
All right, my love. Go ahead and take it away.
Okay. So start with least, which again, it's hard to say anything in this movie is like a least favorite scene. But where it lost, a little bit on videography for me was one of the points that I could really tell it was like bad CGI or just not great was when Cornbread attacked Smoke.
Okay.
Like Smoke's going to hand him the money outside the door and he yanks his hand and it kind of they kind of slow it so you can see the action happening, but Cornbread's like face and everything like,
like
changing.
There's like a noticeable blur.
Yeah, it just yeah, it wasn't great. So that scene just, and it's not even the whole scene, it's just that little part in it took away a little bit. But and then this was the point I was going to make about Grace, Mrs. Chow. When she invited all the vampires in, oh my God, that pissed me off so bad.
Well,
like you just doomed everyone.
Well, again, she's like grieving the loss of her husband,
yeah, but
and he's actively threatening your daughter.
Yeah, and but so now what's that gonna help though?
It's gonna get her to take her husband out so that he's at least not gonna get killed by her own father. That's where my mind's at. Like, I'm perfectly fine with Mrs. Chen like going through some shit.
But that's fine. But
Chow.
She, sacrificed everyone else in that barn for the possibility of her daughter dying. They just threatened it, And I just feel like she was a much like wiser character through the rest of the movie. And that just, it seemed out of character. And I get grief and all that can make you make rash decisions, but I'm sorry, but.
Well, we need to also think about it from a storyline perspective as well. This movie would have ended completely different if the vampires never.
Exactly. But I feel like that was just.
She was the only
easy way out.
I don't know, because she was the only character besides like Smoke who, I don't know. I mean, Smoke's humanity is very like something that I really, really enjoyed as his character developed through the movie. And I think that she is almost like the stunted version of that. And in my mind, like, she's so attached to her family, and she can't overcome the thought of living without.
Yeah, I guess. But it's still, I didn't like it.
I don't know. I thought it was like a pivotal thing. You see the difference between Smoke and Stack and like the hubris between the two of them and like where they start to diverge. And I see that as like a linear pipeline for Mrs. Chen's character. For me, I thought it was great.
Yeah. Just real quick, making that point about like Smoke and Stack and their similarities and differences. And you're saying the humanity of Smoke. But what surprised me about their characters is that so Stack is the kind of more front man and the more outgoing one, and more like feels like more of the businessman, but Smoke ends up being more the businessman. And you feel like Smoke would be the one to have more compassion towards people, but he's the one that was like, don't take this fake money. Like,
hold on. Because if we're going to get into this little tangent here, I got to defend my boy Smoke, because we do see that he worries about children, that he's got this connection, that he is very tender-hearted toward Annie. And they're on the fucking run from the mob.
Oh, I know.
Like, they're not going to make their money and...
I know. Well, I just like the fact that it was just the complexity of their characters.
Okay.
That they didn't just put them each into a box that says like Smoke is going to be the one that is full compassion. They intertwine them, So I liked that the way they did their characters, just like I said, it made them more complex.
I completely agree. I think we can get like into the psyche of those characters for quite a while, but I think it just goes to show like the writing, directing of the movie, and then having an absolute knockout star in Michael B. Jordan just doing his thing. Kudos.
Yep. Okay, that's all I've got on least favorite. What about you?
I got one least favorite scene. That goofy ass CGI snake. That was the dumbest shit. I like my brain. I sat down and I was really trying to figure out why we even had that scene.
Well, they could have used a real snake or something better. But yeah,
it was rough CGI.
It felt very Mary Poppins, if that makes sense. Like how the penguins in Mary Poppins were like they weren't even trying. They
like,
were just animation,
yeah.
you know? And it felt, because like the way it's like snapping, like that's just not how real rattlesnakes, you know.
I don't know. Maybe they got a snake guy who can, you know, we're not snake experts by any means, but we do live in a place that I've had to kill multiple rattlesnakes. So
yeah. It was an odd choice.
The only way that I thought I could argue against myself is if it's the first symbolism of like the snake is the devil. He's trying to get after Smoke, and Smoke has his, you know, baggie on that's supposed to guard him from evil. And maybe that was like the last one before, you know, we get to see it go to Annie and she re-ups on it.
Yeah.
So if it's a metaphor for that, great. I just feel like it's too coincidental. I think you guys just were trying to push that Smoke and Stack have great teamwork and know how to handle themselves.
Yeah.
There could be so many other scenes.
I should have paid attention better of like which one put their arm out, you know, and like which one feels more protective over the other. Because one of them did put their arm in front, you know, unless they put it in front of Sammy. I can't remember. But yeah, that's the thing, is that like snakes are not like a new concept that's never been in a movie before and they couldn't have used, you know.
Yeah, like I said, if it's symbolism, sure.
Well, I know that. I'm just saying like the CGI could have been better because
100%.
It wasn't like Cornbread where they're having to make it look like this person as a vampire who has never portrayed a vampire in any other movie, not that I know of.
It looked like Snakes on a Plane snakes.
Yeah.
And
but we've seen better iterations of CGI snakes. That's what I'm saying. It's not a brand new thing that's first time it's ever been in a movie.
Okay.
So we've definitely had better CGI snakes. Why did we regress?
Okay.
Get that.
So that's all I got for least.
Okay.
I think we just got to get on the positive train.
Yeah. Oh, we got plenty of it.
Let's see. I have 4. How many do you have?
I've also got 4, and I'm sure we have some crossover. So I've got a couple.
After you.
Okay. I'm not going to dive too deep into a couple of these because I've already talked about them. Favorite scenes, obviously, Lie to You, Rocky Road to Dublin. That Lie to You scene, when we were watching it in the theaters the first time, when it started, the like switching, you started getting that R&B, or like when they did like the record scratch
or the electric guitar.
Yeah. I was like, oh shit. I really thought the movie was just going to go to shit there, because I don't really like when movies that are, you know, set in like years and years past use modern soundtracks. There's only a couple that I liked, and it's like A Knight's Tale with Heath Ledger.
This is a horror podcast. We're not talking about masterpieces right now.
No, we actually are.
Yeah, this is a masterpiece, but
it's I just don't like it. It takes me out of it. And so when they started doing that, but it had that whole, you know, Annie's, you know, she was talking about some people have the power through music to pierce the veil and reach generations from past and future. And so, but then it was just done so well. I mean, I sat there and I was like, oh shit, this is going to ruin this whole movie. And then as it kept going, I was like, oh shit, they're killing this.
Yeah. And like the representation for the characters, like you've got the African influence.
Yes.
There's so many like just amazing movements
like the
that
Chinese
all of the characters
with the chows. And I loved how it was like, it circled around them.
Oh yeah.
You know, and it really was like their ancestors.
Yeah, it's like a blending of all of the
Yeah.
cultures coming together. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
So that's on my list as well.
So, and then Rocky Road to Dublin was just a freaking banger. Like that whole scene.
Correct.
Showing them in this like hive mind and him just controlling them.
But
you know?
see, you know, the CGI might have been bad for Cornbread, but goddamn was he busting a fucking move in Rocky Road to Dublin when he's out there just getting it. Every time I watch it, it is my favorite. Yeah. It is my favorite.
Just watching Cornbread in the background.
Yeah, he's the best.
Yeah. So, and I loved how they used those scenes to kind of cover up like what's going on almost like a little time jump for us, because while Rocky Road to Dublin is going down, they're back in the barn getting all their steaks together and all their equipment. So you're not having to watch all that, and it doesn't just skip over, it's giving us something to watch, like what's going on over here, and then getting a freaking banger of a song.
I agree.
So let's see. Okay. So talked about those. A scene that doesn't really stick out. It's not like a really big scene. I just love the way it was shot and how like everything going on in the background is so telling. So when Stack goes to, they've split up, they're going to get supplies, right? So he goes to the Chow's to get his order put in for the food, the sign, everything they need for the juke joint that night. And he goes to one side of the street and he goes into that grocery store, and Lisa, their daughter, she's working the cash register. Dad is in there, and he makes that order, and then he's like, I'm also going to need a sign. And Dad tells Lisa, go get your mama. So she walks out, and then it follows her from behind.
Yes.
And so you see the grocery store they're in. It's kind of empty, but that's where Stack is at. So it's only other like black or Chinese in any of the other races
it
other
shows
than
the segregation
white.
that's still happening.
And then
this
Lisa goes and she walks across the street, and then you see as she walks across the street, she's going to another grocery store, and she walks across and she gets in there, and it's bright and it's just full of white people and only white people. And she walks up to the cash register and she said, Mama needs you, or Daddy needs you, and she takes over, and then it turns and it follows Mrs. Chow and does the same thing. So when you're walking back, you really see that divide just on the different sides of the street. But I love the fact that they own both the grocery stores.
It rips.
Like, I just love that they've, because I want to, like, I would dissect those scenes and try to see everything in the background and see if you could see prices on the same items if they were different, like over in the white store, if they were like charging them more, probably.
Good.
I mean, but I love it. It's like right across the street, like as if they're competitors, but they own both of them.
Yeah, it was so good. And like you said, cinematography, I didn't give it as high of a score, but that is one of those, like, that is a standout scene, and that's something that that sticks with you as you kind of progress through.
Okay. Next one, just at the end, Smoke just mowing down the Klansmen. I loved that scene.
I did too, because like
you've gotten this like slaughter. You've got the vampires killing the people, then them all dying from the sun coming up, and then you just get some good old PvP.
I think Ryan Coogler did a great job with like, hey, this is a bloodthirsty monster with like a hive mind, like horrible thing, and then we're gonna cut to just the most like despicable human actions that can be placed, and give like a Django scene where like Django's just laying down the law, and you're like, okay, sick.
That was gonna make that like it felt like at the end of Django when they're blowing up the mansion. I just love it because it was like they'd fought all night against these monsters. And I was like, oh, these white guys ain't nothing after everything we've been through tonight. And the fact that he just takes care of all of them by himself. It's so good.
Oh, yeah. It was great.
And then my very last one, the end credit with Sammy. So 60 years later, 1992, Sammy at it's his club. And when he's sitting at the bar and Stack and Mary come in, and damn, they look so good. Like, it's just so nostalgic because they're in their full 90s. It's because it's 92, so it's 80s are bleeding over. You're getting that change. But I mean, I loved seeing their change of their character design going from the 30s to the 90s.
Oh yeah, because it's like perfect representation. It showed like you could feel the time period.
Oh, and like you could just like, you're like, though they could have easily been the big movie stars in the 90s. Just the way they looked, they looked so good. So, but I loved that whole end credit scene, even though, you know, like I said, it ended up taking away from like the scary, because you get that resolution happy ending, but just all the implications about it, that Mary and Stack, even though they really only have each other because they're now immortal, but that they got their happily ever after, getting to be with each other and still together.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I don't think you really can root for vampires in a whole lot of movies, but for this,
yeah,
good on you.
Okay.
Right. Is that all your favorites?
Yep.
Okay. My very first favorite is Remick's, like the first time we get to see Remick kill.
Yeah.
We see Remick being chased by the natives. They push him into this racist dog shit hovel with two, you know, low IQ fucking just dirty, grungy people.
Yeah.
And they take him in, you know, he's like, I could pay you, you know, they're trying to kill me. They killed my wife, like buys into it.
Well, and he immediately clocks it, which I know, like, he saw their robes.
Exactly.
And so he immediately started appealing to them.
Exactly.
And so, but I mean, Remick's, the first kill, but just his entrance.
Well, that's the thing too, is so like in this scene that was so impactful for me is he kills, you know, the guy first. And the wife comes in after she's hollering for him, and you just see Remick in front of a crib.
Yeah.
Like, just set in front of a crib, which I need to know, like, there's not a baby screaming. Was there, like, a child in there?
Well, I mean, you think about back in those days, like, infant mortality was so high. And if you look in the background, it's a really dark scene, but it looks like there's another, like, a bed frame kind of sitting up in there. And maybe they just had some stuff in storage, and it's like, that's a crib for if, like, they were given it for if they had a kid, when they had a kid. But
I don't know. I want to think that Remick just murdered a baby. I think it makes it so much more menacing in the fact that we don't actually see it.
Yeah, but they only focused on the husband, you know?
Yeah, but I think, like, just the implication is enough to set up
a little vampire baby running around.
No. I don't.
It would have just
like a Capri Sun.
Oh. Okay.
All right. Next up, when Cornbread is ready to beat the shit out of Stack.
Oh my gosh!
After Stack is cursing in front of his wife.
Yeah, and then just keeps on. Yes.
Yeah. I just loved it. I thought it was so fun. And then, like, the wife, like, you can just tell that dynamic is so just, like, a healthy relationship where she's like, well, how much money?
Yeah. He's like, good woman.
Yeah. And, you know, just the recruitment. It was just a quick, like, little thing. But for me, I laughed every time that I've watched it. It is just one of my scenes. I'm like, I really like that.
Well, it just makes you love Cornbread, like, immediately. Because he's like, nope, I got to work. You know, I'm already behind on my quota for today. My wife's right here. Don't talk to her. Don't talk like that in front of her.
In front of my wife.
Yeah, I mean, you just like, you immediately love Cornbread.
Oh yeah. Obviously Rocky Road to Dublin. Yeah. Cornbread, Rocky Road to Dublin. I thought it was such a unique scene, and we'll get into the effects here in just a minute. But that scene was really where they were kind of able to stretch their legs with the effects team.
Well, and I mean, and then you just got to give freaking kudos to Jack O'Connell, Remick.
Oh,
I mean, his dancing, like, holy shit. I've watched like a whole like making of that scene and his practice sessions and stuff, just trying to get that down, and it's crazy. Yeah. So good.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about it more. We already know. We already know.
It's great.
Yeah. Final scene for me that I really enjoyed. It was the entire battle inside the barn.
Oh yeah.
So we've got our motley crew. The action has to take place. I personally thought that Mrs. Chow did great at what she did. I know you're going to disagree, which is fine. The story had to be told.
Yeah.
We had to have them come in at some point, but the whole opening to it where they're singing outside the barn and then they start threatening, you know, Mrs. Chow's daughter, Lisa, and it was so creepy to have all these voices in unison harmonizing, knowing that they're so menacing.
Yeah.
And then when the floodgates hit, the choreographed fight scene was just I mean, it was nonstop action and it was perfect. Not a single move was really wasted. And of course, that's not me like nitpicking and looking at background characters and seeing what they're doing, but it's like they're being held off. They're doing all of these precautions. And then when Annie dies,
oh yeah,
you know, she gets bit. And like we were talking about the duality of Smoke's character, where he loves Annie.
Oh yeah,
like, and has always loved her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they had their child that they lost, and there's that emotional gut punch. And then she's like, you know, we'll be waiting for you. And after the clan scene, you know, unfortunately he does die, but it's such a sweet.
Well, and that's where I'd say it's like, it's sad, but it's still a happy ending because he got to end up with the person he loved too, and his baby, and
yeah,
you know.
But so, like that scene in particular where he stakes Annie, and then like all the vampires start acting like, oh no.
Well, and that's where it's like, so they're all under Remic's spell. I mean, he's got control of all of them. But in that scene, like, there's so much going on that was that just emotional punch of having to see Smoke kill Annie, who they love, but knowing that's his, you know, one true love, and Stack and Mary, that's like, it snapped them out like of his control. It was like their humanity burst through, like what was left of their humanity overpowered his control, because then as soon as that was done, I mean, we still have the fight with Smoke and Stack, but then they're able to leave. They're able to run away, where all the rest of them are still under like Remic's control. So they've like broken past it and they're able to leave because they did that before.
Well, Smoke, so that's the other thing too that we need to touch on, is that Smoke was able to kill Annie knowing that there was something beyond.
Yeah.
Right? And so it plays with the like themes of faith and knowing that, you know, like she's just going to be with their child, you know, and be reunited. But he can't bring himself to killing his brother. And we've seen how distraught, like the two obviously love each other. They've got this special kind of brotherly bond that they, you know, they've been through trenches together. They've been through everything. And so for me, it was just like, okay, they let Stack live, you know, but you find out at the end, you think that he just gets killed, and then wind up, you know, him and Mary come back and he's got that dope ass like Mr. T Stack ring, which is just fucking sick. But yeah, no, I think the Battle in the Barn was so well curated, and we got so much character development simultaneously. Yeah, and it was just really, really solid. Alrighty, favorite effects.
So, you know, there's really not a lot of effects. You know, there's a couple instances of some bad CGI. The vampire design, but those eyes.
The tapetum lucidum.
Sure.
That's what it is called when a critter has got eyes that reflect.
Okay.
Yeah, tapetum lucidum.
Well, whatever the contacts they use for the effect in this movie.
I think honestly, it's probably a lot of it was CGI too.
It was at points, but they were wearing, it was specialty contacts in some of those scenes, because that's a point that has been made. A little bit of a detour here about the HHN house is that the contacts that they did use, like, they can't be worn for like long periods of time. So they said they had to figure out a different way to do the eyes, and supposedly they figured it out and it's gonna work. So we'll see that. But yeah,
I'm very excited.
Yep. So, but yeah, favorite effect. I just love the eyes, and especially when they're all out in the dark and it's just, you know, it's just a bunch of predators, you know. So
no, that was my first one as well.
So. Yeah, I mean, it's just such a big part of the movie with the vampires, but yeah, it was done really well. My other one, so when we first meet Annie and Smoke has gone out and he lays flowers at their baby's grave, and then he goes in and he's talking to her and they're kind of arguing, and he is, you know, talking crap about her, you know, everything she does. She's like this, you know, witchy woo woo, you know, it's all make believe. And she was like, "Oh, really?" And she, and then she's like, "Well, then why are you still wearing that? The little bag, the protection bag that she'd made him. He still wore it." But she gets like heated because he's, talking negatively about her, her way of life.
Mm-hmm.
And when she gets like getting a little mad, like there's like the audio that starts playing and then like the edges of the screen blur.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
I loved it because it was kind of subtle, but you're like, oh shit, it just enhances her. Like, it's like, it is. It's like her, everything she's in touch with is like rising up, And then when she calms down, it all recedes.
Yeah.
I loved that. I thought that was really cool.
That is a really cool, like, effect that we got to see.
Well, and it was like a right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's showing like, no, she does have something else going on. This isn't just
make believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they did a really good job with being realistic while also bringing in the supernatural element.
Well, and I was reading about it, and they consulted like a bunch of people, and had experts so that it felt authentic and it was true to the culture and everything, and it definitely paid off.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't think you get that effective blend without outside people coming in and really caring about the subject
matter.
Let's see. We talked about mine, Reflect Vies. The other, again, we can continue to go back and forth about how great Michael B. Jordan did. The visual effects team making all of the like physical interactions between Smoke and Stack. Just the way that the character themselves, being played by the same actor, have their own quirks, their own way that they carry themselves, their own walk, their everything. So to pull that off, I think effects team did a phenomenal job. Alrighty. Let's see. We have got to get to the feels.
Okay. There were lots of feels in this movie. More than almost any other horror movie, because we did get all that exposition, getting the backgrounds of the characters and their, some tragic past and how all of their lives, intertwined with each other. And so you get, attached to them, or, you feel bad for them or sad, and you start rooting for them. And then in the end, when someone dies, you can empathize with all their loved ones, or you didn't want to see them die. Like, they didn't deserve that. So just being able to really get invested in characters, where most horror movies, we don't get that at all. It's just not part of it. And then you're just like, oh, well, they died, Yeah. So, but also, I'm going to talk about HHN again. Okay. It just really makes I'm so excited for this house.
Same.
And as I was doing this rewatch, one of the biggest questions when it was being speculated, and then now since it's been confirmed, was, will it translate, or how well could it translate to being a house? We've talked about that. It's like there's just kind of the big barn scene, the big fight. What else could they do? But then in this rewatch, I could see, there were scenes and I'm like, oh, they could use that, and I could see how they would. So like the opening scene, it's like a flash forward. It's Sammy. He's all cut up. Just, he'd been through it, barely made it out alive. And he pulls up to the church and he is just death gripping the neck of that guitar, what's left of it. And, flings open the chapel doors. And so I could just see him like popping out as a jump scare, or someone in the, when he opens the door, someone in there like yells like, Sammy. And I can just hear someone just jumping out and like, Sammy, being a jump scare. But just things like that. They have so much to work with. I bet we're going to see a snake. I bet there will be a snake jump scare in there.
I hope it's a nod to Toilet Snake. Not in a good way, from the Yeti house.
But yeah. Also, I don't even care if it's jump scare, which most of it is, but a Remick like popping out something, Sammy.
Yeah, that I do.
He says it twice, and it's like it makes me think of Supernatural, just the way he says it. But I love it. I need just a Remick jumping out and saying Sammy.
I can get behind that.
So, but yeah, that's my feels. What about you?
Okay. Like you had talked about, it is an emotional movie.
Mm-hmm.
You fall in love with so many of the characters, and I think to write a dynamic, and I'm almost kind of contradicting myself because all of the side characters that we kind of got to focus on, like Delta Slim, I was rooting for Delta Slim.
Yeah.
First watch. Cornbread, like from the beginning, I was a Cornbread from moment one, like Stan, and he, he bites at first of those supporting characters, and I just was sad then, and then Delta Slim, sad there, Perlene.
Yeah.
So the fact that like all of the chemistry of the characters, where all of their character flaws are on full display, but also their strengths, and it's just, I love it. I think a ragtag group or like an underdog, they're fighting against all of the stigma. They're fighting against this. Now they're fighting against fucking vampires. So for this like found family to come together, this community, be ravaged by vampires, leaving very few alive at the end, is just, it's a slaughter.
Yeah.
It's an emotional roller coaster, and I love it. All right. Next up is my favorite segment.
Okay.
Questions.
What questions do you have?
My big question is, with the movie ending and leading to vamped up Mary and Stack, in 1992, I think is when it was, right? So I kind of hope, like, is this a path for a sequel?
Maybe.
Is there any world where we get Michael B. Jordan and Haley Steinfeld to portray these two characters as like they go through life?
Yeah, showing that 60 years, what were they doing? You know,
how,
like a Forrest Gump-esque, where you see them all the major world events that they're experiencing through their immortality. Yeah. I like that. That kind of goes into one of my questions, but more of just something I really want to see. So like, I mean, yeah, I'd love to see the future that we didn't get to see of Mary and Stack. I want to see the twins' origin story and their time through the war and their time in Chicago. I want to see everything that happened to them and led them to being the people who they are now. Because you just get little bits and pieces here. I want to see Smoke and Stack in Chicago working for Capone, and then them stealing from the Irish and the Italians to like try to turn them against each other, and then jetting back home and just hoping that if they have someone on their tail at some point, by then they'll have enough money to pay them off and
or disappear
That's the
thing too.
So I would love, because it's so pivotal to the whole story is their origin, and their dad, and, once Smoke killed their dad after him, beating the crap out of Stack, and then them leaving. And then like the story with, them and Mary's mom, and there's just so much there. I want to know more. So
yeah, the fact that we got basically 50 minutes, 45 to an hour of kind of like a slow burn setup, and then we're still asking for more. Yeah, like I think that's just an effective director knowing his subject matter, knowing what he wants, and then having the ability and the talent to make it happen.
I also want to know more about Sammy's powers. This gift that he has. So for Remick to go to the lengths he did and end up losing his life over it, I mean, he's like, I think what was he, like 400 years old or something like that? Maybe older. For him to want Sammy so bad for his gifts that he ends up getting killed, I just want to know, like, it had to have been more than just being able to see and talk to the dead. Because, you know, he said, I want to see my people again. Unless it was just the fact that it was showing that, you know, living so long and eventually, you know, it's like very, very early on in his immortality, everyone that he knew was dead. Yeah. So he went through his whole life. So he's just wanting to see those people.
I think that, and then also, there's no way that Remick has lived this long without like having like a whole other, not necessarily a coven, but like another group. And, you know, he's got that Irish heritage. Yeah. So, you know, maybe it was loved ones while he was mortal, and then he definitely had some more followers later.
That's what I'm saying, though. Remick was after power.
Yeah, he was kind of like Professor Xavier.
So, you know, and at this point, I mean, he has like no humanity. So I don't think it's like wanting just to see past loved ones. I feel like it's like, this is how I can get my people back or something to gain, like to bolster his followers. So I just want to know more about Sammy's gift, because to me, it just had to be more than just being able to pierce the veil, like just to be able to like communicate or see or talk. It's like, can he bring them back?
Yeah.
You know, so.
Okay. My last question is more of something that I got to thinking about today before we recorded. Was it a metaphor when, you know, they get through everything and it's just Smoke and Sammy, and Sammy's like, oh, I broke this guitar, and of, you know, insert famous person here. And I was like, okay. And then he's like, that was our dad's guitar. And I was like, oh shit. Is that kind of like a metaphor for if Sammy never had this guitar, if he was never tainted by the, you know, the bad blood of Smoke and Stack, he wouldn't be in this situation. Like everybody would still be alive, but because is it like a, you know, it is a curse, like the talent is cursed or something like that. There's so much to play with there. So I was like, damn, if that's what it is, I think that's awesome.
Yeah. And the fact that his dad was like so against it.
Well, because he knew his brother.
But he never said anything about the fact that, or he wasn't like, absolutely not. You're not, you know, because you're literally going down the path of my brother. I mean, the same guitar and everything, like that he didn't say. He was just like, nope, I don't approve. I mean,
yeah, which I mean, his dad was a real one. Like, let's be real.
I mean, he was very, you know, characteristic of a 1930s Southern preacher.
Yeah. And so. I think with all of he's got so many kids. Yeah. We see Sammy waking up all the little ones, you know, on the floor. And it's just like, okay, you can't possibly keep track of all of your children.
Well, and honestly, I feel like because there was such like an age gap there, I feel like because they were the preacher family, that those probably weren't all their kids. They probably took in kids.
I'm not gonna.
Family, you know, if anybody had died, or like the ones on the chain gang, you know, I feel
possible.
I feel like those probably were not all biological siblings. I feel like they probably took some in. Just because of the big. Sammy just seemed like to be the oldest, like by far, you know. So, okay, all right. So where the questions are your favorite category. This one is kind of mine because I'm usually the one that has something for this because I'm always nitpicking things. So the details, the gripes are kudos. So, you know, this is one of those. The whole movie is a kudo. Like it's amazing. But where the CGI snake was your, you know, thing that got you, mine, you know, there was the CGI with Cornbread, but the very, very first instance that pulled me out a little bit, and I hated the fact that it was the first time we see Smoke and Stack. So it is the very first scene we see Michael B. Jordan in this dual role. And so immediately, I mean, that's your first question is, are they going to nail this twin thing first in the acting and in the effects? So they're leaning up against the car and they're just waiting there, and they light up a cigarette, and, you know, Smoke takes a drag, And then he goes to hand it off to Stack, and there's just this too long pause before Stack takes it. It's not fluid. And it's not like he wasn't like, Smoke was holding it there and then he like saw and then took it. He was looking straight ahead. So he saw it, and it was just like it just felt a little disjointed. So it really felt like you saw that like Michael B. Jordan was standing there and he handed off the cigarette, and then it was like he went over there and he took it. It was just, for it being the very first scene we saw them in the movie, it stood out to me. And I remember thinking that in the theater, it just wasn't fluid. It made it feel like it was the same person. It wasn't two people interacting fluidly with each other. But for the rest of the movie, never saw anything like that. Mm-hmm. So had something like that happened later on in the movie where we had already gotten into this flow and this, interactions, them being the same person playing two characters, but not seeing any, discrepancies, probably would have overlooked it. It wouldn't have stood out. But because it was that very first scene with them, it stood out to me. And I was like, oh crap, I hope we don't get a lot of this in the rest of the movie. Thankfully, I didn't see another instance of it.
Okay. I don't think I'm misremembering this, but I do believe that they talk about that scene. I don't know if it was like a DVD extra or if it was like in an interview with Ryan Coogler, mm-hmm. but I believe they were talking about how difficult that scene was to get right.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I think you're not the only person that has that complaint. Yeah. So I could see that. What else on your gripes?
That is really the only one, other than just a couple little things here and there we've already talked about. But okay. Yeah.
The snake was lame. I hated it.
It felt, I'm sure we can go find a Reddit thread that breaks down the metaphor of this snake or the whatever it's symbolizing, but they could have done, better CGI.
There was other stuff. The thing that I really want to end on with this is a story that I think you can rewatch this movie.
Oh yeah,
many, many times. The story gets better every time that I've seen it. There's always these little details that get picked up, and I think to have so many Oscar nominations, number one, is fucking incredible.
Crazy.
I think that this movie is, again, like, this is a gold star movie. Mm-hmm. If you do not own it, you should probably own it. If you have not watched it,
what are you even doing?
Yeah, and how have you not watched it like 5 times?
Yeah.
So for me, it's a solid like thumbs up. Go watch it. Go enjoy it. This is one of those like very rare movies where you kind of get everything.
Yeah.
It ticks almost every box. And I have a gripe that is not related to the movie itself. Okay. It's so going through and kind of looking at reviews and other things. People did not appreciate that this was Oscar nominated 16 times.
Yeah.
And
There's always gonna be haters.
Yeah, they were so shitty on like the IMDb page about it, and like, it's not an original idea. Everybody wants Dusk Till Dawn. It's like, shut up, nerd.
Yeah.
Like,
that's like off. Saying just all vampire movies are the same. So Nosferatu and Twilight, same thing, right?
Both dog shit. Yeah, they are the same. Those are fucking dog shit movies.
Oh my god!
I hated Nosferatu. I'm not some like yearning, sexually repressed smut reading maniac. So Nosferatu, like, that monster fucker just doesn't work for me.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. That was a Nosferatu rant. Sinners was red. All right. Well, you got anything else?
No, just that. Always say, who is this movie for? Should you go watch it? Everyone. Yes, go watch it.
Go watch
if you haven't already, are you living under a rock? Like, are you one of these people that just refuses because you just want to be different?
Yeah, you're quirky and
yeah,
fun.
It's an amazing movie. Even if you're not like a huge horror fan, it's got so much story and drama and, character development and, just it's so good.
Yeah.
Just go watch it.
Agree. Well, that's our take on Sinners. We'd love to hear what your thoughts are on it. And with HHN right around the corner, we'd love to know what some of your favorite scenes you'd love to see in that house.
Yep. Like, subscribe, and share for more horrifying content. We'll see you in the next episode. Until then, stay spooky.